Commander Alan Foster stared at the view screen, his eyes fixed on the battle unfolding millions of kilometers away. Bright flashes of light marked where Zephyrian and Krellian ships exchanged fire. From his position in the stealth observation, Vessel UEF Sparrow, it looked almost beautiful, like distant fireworks against the black canvas of space. "They've been at this for 300 years, said Lieutenant Maria Garcia as she joined him on the bridge. "You'd think they'd grow tired of killing each other." Alan nodded without looking away from the screen. 300 years to them is different. Both species live for nearly 1,000 years. This war is still young by their standards. The Sparrow was small by military vessel standards, designed for reconnaissance rather than combat. Its 12 crew members had spent the last 6 months watching the war between the Zephyrians and Krellians from the shadows of the Arcturus sector. Their mission was simple: observe, document, and stay undetected. "Anything interesting in today's battle?" Maria asked as she took her station. As the ship's xenanthropologist, she was responsible for interpreting alien behaviors and motivations. "The usual," Alan replied. "Krellian forces tried to push through the Myra Gap. Zephyrians countered with those new cruisers we spotted last month." He zoomed in on one section of the battle. "But there's something odd. That Zephyrian command ship has broken formation." Maria leaned forward, her dark eyes narrowing as she studied the screen. "You're right. It's heading away from the battle." "That's not typical Zephyrian strategy." Alan's fingers moved across the control panel, tracking the ship's trajectory. "It's heading toward ... nothing. There's nothing in that sector worth investigating." "We should follow it," Maria suggested. Alan hesitated. "Their orders from the United Earth Federation were clear: observe but never engage." Humanity had barely survived its own devastating war with the Proxima Centauri coalition 20 years ago. Now, with Earth still rebuilding, the last thing they needed was to attract the attention of two vastly more powerful alien empires. "It could reveal new tactical information," Maria pressed. "The Zephyrians never deviate from battle plans without good reason." After a moment's consideration, Alan nodded. "Ensign Paul, plot an intercept course. Keep us at maximum stealth distance." "Yes, sir," responded the young navigation officer. The Sparrow's engines hummed quietly as the ship changed direction, trailing the lone Zephyrian vessel as it moved away from the battle. For 3 hours, they followed at a safe distance, their advanced stealth systems masking their presence. "They're slowing down," Paul announced, approaching the edge of the Crimson Nebula. Alan frowned. The nebula was a dead zone, its radiation making it uninhabitable and uninteresting to both warring empires. What could they possibly want there? Maria was already reviewing sensor data. "Sir, I'm detecting unusual energy signatures from within the nebula. They're faint, but they don't match known natural phenomena." "Can we get a visual?" "Not from this distance, not with the nebula's interference." Alan drummed his fingers on the armrest of his chair. His mission parameters didn't cover this situation. Following the Zephyrian ship into the nebula would increase their risk of detection significantly. "We need to see what they're doing," he decided finally. "Ensign Paul, take us closer, but stay on the nebula's edge. Chief Engineer Ben, divert power from non-essential systems to boost our sensor range." The Sparrow crept forward, skirting the crimson clouds of the nebula. As they approached, the ship's sensors began to pierce the veil of gas and radiation. "Sir," Paul's voice was tight with tension, "I'm getting something big on sensors. Really big." The main view screen shifted to show a massive structure hidden within the nebula. It was clearly artificial, a sprawling facility with extending arms that resembled a spider's web. Krellian design was evident in its angular metallic surfaces. "That's a weapons platform," Alan said, his voice barely above a whisper. "But it's enormous. I've never seen anything like it. Maria was already analyzing the data. Based on its size and power output, it could destroy entire moons, maybe small planets. She looked up, her face pale. Commander, I think it's a planet killer. What's it targeting? Alan asked after a moment of working at her console. Maria's expression grew even more concerned. Sir, its targeting systems are oriented toward the Epsilon sector. Alan felt his blood run cold. That's where New Haven and Providence are located. Both were human colonial worlds, established just 5 years ago on the edge of explored space. The Krellians know about our colonies, Maria said. This weapon is meant for us. As they watched, the Zephyrian ship docked with a massive platform. They're working together, Alan realized. The war could be a front, or they've formed an alliance against us. We need to warn Earth, Maria said. Alan nodded grimly. Paul, plot a course back to Earth, maximum speed once we're clear of the nebula. Ben, I want every bit of power you can give to the engines. As the Sparrow began to pull away, alarms suddenly blared across the bridge. We've been detected, Paul shouted. Krellian security systems just locked onto us. Evasive maneuvers, Alan ordered. Get us out of here. The small ship accelerated away from the nebula, but a bright flash of light announced the arrival of a Krellian patrol vessel, emerging from some hidden dock within the weapons platform. They're pursuing, Paul reported, and they're gaining. Communications. Alan called to his communications officer, Lisa. Prepare a data packet with everything we've observed. Set it to transmit to Earth on a secure channel if we're captured. As the Sparrow raced through space with the Krellian ship in pursuit, Maria worked frantically at her station. Commander, I'm picking up communications between the Krellian vessel and the platform. They're using an old frequency they think we can't decode. What are they saying? Maria listened through her headset, her expression growing more troubled. It's fragmented, but they're talking about the human problem. There's something about eliminating them before they become a threat. She looked up, eyes wide. They know about us, Alan. They've known all along. Alan stared at the pursuing ship on the view screen. Both empires have been watching us just as we've been watching them. And they consider us a threat to be eliminated once their own war concludes. Maria added. A blast from the Krellian ship rocked the Sparrow. Shields at 60%. Ben called from engineering. Can we make it to the jump point? Alan asked. Paul nodded tensely. If the shields hold for another 3 minutes. Alan turned to Maria. Download everything you can from their communications. We need to know what they're planning. As the Sparrow pushed its engines to their limits, the crew worked together. Every piece of intelligence they could. The truth was now clear. Humanity wasn't the silent observer they thought they were. They were being observed too, and the Watchers had decided their fate. The ship shuddered as another blast struck them. Shields at 30%, Ben reported. Jump point in 60 seconds. Paul announced. Alan gripped the arms of his chair. Lisa, transmit what we have so far to Earth. Code red priority. As the Sparrow prepared to jump, Alan knew that everything had changed. The war they had been watching from afar was about to become their own, and Earth needed to be ready. Jump. In 3, 2, 1. The stars stretched into lines as the Sparrow escaped into hyperspace, carrying its urgent warning back to Earth. Behind them, unknown to the Krellians or Zephyrians, a countdown had begun to the revelation of humanity's greatest secret and most terrible weapon. The UEF Sparrow limped into Earth's solar system 7 days after its narrow escape from the Krellian patrol ship. Its hull bore scorch marks from enemy fire, and one of its 3 engines had failed completely during the journey home. Commander. Alan Foster and Lieutenant Maria Garcia stood side by side on the bridge as the blue-green sphere of Earth grew larger on their view screen. Home at last, Maria said softly. Her uniform was wrinkled from days without rest, dark circles under her eyes. Alan nodded, equally exhausted. And not a moment too soon. We need to get our findings to command immediately. A fleet of Earth defense vessels moved into formation around the damaged Sparrow, escorting it to the orbital station that served as United Earth Federation headquarters. As soon as they docked, Alan and Maria were rushed through the stations, corridors to a secure meeting room where Admiral Samantha Wells waited. Admiral Wells was a tall woman with short gray hair and eyes that had seen too many battles during the Proxima War. She stood as Alan and Maria entered. Commander Foster, Lieutenant Garcia. She greeted them with a firm handshake. Your message caused quite a stir. The Council is meeting now to discuss our options. Admiral, Alan said, the situation is worse than we initially reported. Oath. The Zephyrians and Krellians have been monitoring us for years. They view us as a future threat. And that weapons platform we discovered could easily destroy our colonial worlds. Maria added. Admiral Wells studied them both for a moment. What you've discovered has accelerated our timeline considerably. She pressed a button on the table. Security override. Wells Alpha 97. The room's lights dimmed, and a holographic display appeared above the table. It showed the solar system, with Earth and its neighboring planets revolving around the sun. What I'm about to show you is classified at the highest level, Wells said. Only 12 people on Earth know about this project. The hologram zoomed in on Mercury, the smallest planet and closest to the sun. As they watched, the image of Mercury seemed to split open, revealing a complex internal structure that was clearly not natural. This is Project Colossus, Wells explained. For 70 years, we've been transforming Mercury into something more than a planet. Alan stared at the hologram in disbelief. You've hollowed it out? Not entirely, Wells replied. We've removed approximately 60% of its core and replaced it with the most advanced propulsion system ever created. The surface remains largely unchanged to avoid detection from distant observers. Maria stepped closer to the hologram, studying the intricate network of chambers and machinery within the planet's shell. It's a ship, she whispered, a planet-sized warship. The first of several, Wells confirmed. We have similar projects, at various stages of completion throughout the solar system. Alan looked at the Admiral in shock. Why? The Proxima War ended 20 years ago. We've been at peace. Wells' expression hardened. The Proxima War taught us a harsh lesson, Commander. We came within months of extinction. The Council vowed never to let humanity be caught unprepared again. She manipulated the hologram to show more details of Mercury's interior. Project Colossus began as a contingency plan, a last resort if we ever faced another existential threat. The hologram revealed vast chambers inside Mercury that could house millions of people, agricultural zones that could sustain them, and weapon systems built into the planet's mantle that dwarfed anything Alan had seen before. The engine system can move Mercury out of its orbit and across the galaxy if needed, Wells continued. Its weapons could devastate entire star systems. It's a fortress, a refuge, and a deterrent all in one. Maria exchanged a troubled glance with Alan. And the people of Earth don't know about this? The resource allocation has been hidden in plain sight, Wells explained. Space mining operations, research stations, defense spending all cover stories for the real project. She turned off the hologram. But now we face a decision. Your discovery suggests that both the Zephyrian and Krellian empires pose an immediate threat to our existence. You're considering revealing Colossus. Alan realized. Wells nodded. The Council is debating that very question as we speak. Reveal our planetary weapons as a deterrent, or maintain secrecy until they're all complete. Alan thought about the massive Krellian weapons platform they had discovered. Even with Colossus, Are we ready to face two galactic empires? Our intelligence suggests both empires are weaker than they appear, Wells said. Centuries of war have depleted their resources and fractured their political systems. Their alliance against us may be born of desperation as much as anything else. Maria had been quiet, processing everything she'd heard. Now she spoke up. What if we tried diplomacy first? Now that we know they're watching us, we could approach them openly. Wells considered this. The Council has proposed something similar, a diplomatic mission to both empires, while we prepare Colossus for potential deployment. I volunteer to lead that mission, Alan said immediately. As do I, Maria added. Wells studied them both. You've seen their weapons platform. You've decoded their communications. You understand the threat better than anyone. She nodded slowly. Very well. You'll command the UEF Olive Branch, our newest diplomatic vessel. Your mission will be to open formal communications with both empires and assess whether peaceful coexistence is possible. And if it's not? Alan asked. Wells' gaze was steady. Then you'll need to get your people out quickly, because Colossus will be deployed. 3 days later, Alan stood in the observation lounge of the Olive Branch, watching Earth grow smaller. As they departed, Maria joined him, now wearing the formal uniform of the diplomatic corps. I still can't believe it, she said quietly. All these years, we've been building planet-sized warships right under everyone's noses, including our own, Alan replied. I've served the Federation for 15 years and never suspected. Do you think it was the right decision? To build something so powerful? Alan watched as Earth disappeared from view, replaced by the distant dot of Mercury. Somewhere inside that unassuming planet was a weapon that could destroy civilizations. I don't know, he admitted. But I do know we need to do everything possible to make sure it never has to be used. The Olive Branch accelerated to faster-than-light speed, carrying its mission of peace toward the stars. Behind them, inside Mercury, thousands of engineers and military personnel prepared for war. Project Colossus was moving into its final phase, ready to emerge from decades of secrecy if diplomacy failed. As they jumped to hyperspace, Alan couldn't help but wonder, would their mission prevent a war, or merely delay the inevitable moment when humanity revealed its ultimate weapon to the galaxy? The UEF Olive Branch emerged from hyperspace near the Zephyrian homeworld of Azuria. The planet glowed with a blue-green light, its crystalline cities visible even from orbit. Commander Alan Foster stood on the bridge with his diplomatic team. Lieutenant Maria Garcia, Chief Negotiator Vincent Russell, and military strategist Grace Williams. They're hailing us, reported the communications officer. Alan straightened his formal uniform. On screen, the view screen filled with the image of a Zephyrian official. The alien was tall and slender with skin that seemed to shimmer like polished crystal. Its eyes were large, multifaceted orbs that reflected light in rainbow patterns. Human vessel, the Zephyrian spoke in a voice that sounded like chimes. You are granted permission to dock at our orbital station. An escort will guide you. Thank you, Alan replied. We come in peace, seeking dialogue between our peoples. The Zephyrian made a gesture that might have been acknowledgement before the screen went dark. That was short, Vincent observed. He was a veteran diplomat with salt and pepper hair and calm eyes. Not exactly a warm welcome. Grace, a woman with short blonde hair and a calculating gaze, checked her datapad. Their fleet positions haven't changed. No obvious military response to our arrival. They're curious, Maria suggested. We've never approached them directly before. Alan nodded. Let's hope curiosity is enough to keep us alive. Take us in, Ensign. The Olive Branch followed two sleek Zephyrian escort vessels toward an enormous orbital station that resembled a spinning crystal snowflake. As they approached, Alan couldn't help but admire the beautiful yet alien architecture dot after docking. The human delegation was led through corridors of what appeared to be living crystal. The station itself seemed to pulse with energy, walls occasionally lighting up with patterns that Maria explained were a form of Zephyrian communication. They were brought to a vast chamber where 5 senior Zephyrians waited. The tallest, adorned with crystal ornaments that caught and refracted light, stepped forward. "I am High Minister Zalvin," the Zephyrian announced. "We are surprised by your approach, humans. Your kind has been content to hide and watch from shadows until now." Vincent stepped forward. "High Minister, I am Vincent Russell, Chief Negotiator for the United Earth Federation. We come seeking peaceful dialogue. Recent events have made it clear that our civilizations are aware of each other. We believe it's time for open communication." The High Minister's crystalline features were difficult to read, but the light patterns on the walls around them pulsed more rapidly. "Very well," Zalvin said finally. "We will speak. Perhaps there is benefit in this dialogue." Over the next 3 days, negotiations proceeded with formal politeness. The Zephyrians provided comfortable quarters for the humans and shared information about their culture and history. They spoke of their centuries-long war with the Krellians as a regrettable necessity against a brutal enemy. On the 4th day, Vincent found Alan in his quarters, his expression troubled. "Commander, we have a problem," Vincent said quietly. "I've been analyzing the data they've shared. There are inconsistencies, deliberate omissions." Alan lowered his voice. "What kind of omissions?" "Their fleet movements. The information they provided doesn't match what our long-range sensors are detecting." Vincent handed Alan a datapad. "They're repositioning ships near our colony worlds while keeping us occupied here." "Are you certain?" Grace confirmed it. "She's been maintaining quantum-entangled communication with Earth." Both the Zephyrians here and the Krellians meeting with our other diplomatic team are stalling. Alan studied the data, his jaw tightening. They're buying time to position their forces. Grace joined them, slipping into the room and immediately activating a small device that would scramble any listening equipment. "It's worse than we thought," she said. "Admiral Wells just informed me that we've intercepted communications between the Zephyrian and Krellian leadership. They've formed an alliance against us." Maria, who had been quietly listening, looked shocked. "They've been at war for centuries. Why would they suddenly work together?" "Fear," Grace replied. "Our intelligence suggests that Emperor Zalvip of the Zephyrians and High Executor Krelvok of the Krellians have signed a temporary ceasefire. They plan to eliminate the human problem before resuming their war." Alan moved to the window, looking out at the beautiful crystal structures of the station. "So diplomacy has failed before it really began." "We need to report back to Earth immediately," Vincent urged. "I'm not sure they'll let us leave," Grace warned. "The escort ships have moved into blocking positions. They're not even trying to hide it anymore." Alan turned back to face his team. "Then we force our way out. The Olive Branch has some defensive capabilities they don't know about." "Even so," Grace cautioned, "we'd be outnumbered." "We have one advantage," Maria suggested. "The experimental phase shift drive. It's never been tested in combat, but it might be our only option." Alan finished for her. "Grace, send a final message to Earth through the quantum link. Tell Admiral Wells diplomacy has failed, and a two-front war is imminent." They moved quickly, returning to their ship under the pretense of retrieving cultural gifts for the Zephyrians. Once aboard, Alan ordered an emergency departure. As expected, the Zephyrians immediately moved to block them. "Human vessel, return to your dock immediately," came the stern command over the communication system. "Phase shift drive charging," the engineer reported. 60 seconds to activation. A beam of energy struck the Olive Branch, causing the ship to shudder. "They've disabled our main engines," Grace reported. "Standard propulsion is offline." "Shields." "Holding at 70%, reported another crew member. Alan gripped the arms of his command chair. "Reroute all non-essential power to the phase shift drive. We only need one good jump." The Zephyrian ships closed in, firing disabling shots designed to cripple rather than destroy. They wanted the humans alive. "Phase shift at 90%, the engineer called. 90-5 ... ready. Activate." Alan ordered. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the view outside the ship windows blurred as the olive branch shifted partially out of normal space. The Zephyrian weapons passed harmlessly through them, and the ship slipped between the blockading vessels. "It's working," Maria exclaimed. Their victory was short-lived. Warning alarms blared across the bridge. "Power fluctuations in the phase shift drive," the engineer reported urgently. "It's overloading." "Get us as far from the station as possible," Alan ordered. "Then shut it down before it explodes." The olive branch surged away from Azuria, phasing in and out of normal space. When they were safely distant, the engineer deactivated the experimental drive. "Status report," Alan demanded. Grace's expression was grim. "Main engines destroyed. Phase shift drive burned out. Life support functional, but we're stranded." "How far did we get?" "We're in the outer reaches of the Azurian system," she replied. "But without engines, we're dead in space." Alan looked at his team. They had escaped capture, but at a heavy cost. Their ship was crippled, and they were far from help. But they had accomplished their most important task, warning Earth. "We survived," he told his worried crew. "And we delivered our message. Now Earth knows what's coming." As the damaged olive branch drifted in space, far below them on Earth, Admiral Wells received Grace's final transmission. In the underground command center beneath the Rocky Mountains, she turned to her staff. "Diplomacy has failed," she announced grimly. "Begin final preparations. Project Colossus will be activated." Admiral Samantha Wells stood in the central command chamber of Mercury. Around her, hundreds of officers and technicians worked at control stations that stretched across the vast underground facility. The chamber was built deep within what had once been the planet's core, now replaced by the most advanced technology humanity had ever created. "Status report," Wells demanded. A young officer approached with a data tablet. "The combined Zephyrian-Krellian fleet has reached our outer colonies, Admiral. New Eden fell yesterday. Horizon is under attack now." Wells studied the tactical display showing the movement of alien ships through human territory. To anyone watching from outside, it would appear that humanity was suffering a crushing defeat. Earth's defense fleet was badly outnumbered, and colonial worlds were falling one after another. What the aliens didn't know was that most of those colonies had already been evacuated through secret subspace corridors. The apparent route was actually a carefully planned strategic withdrawal. "And our special assets?" Wells asked quietly. "All in final position," the officer confirmed. "Mercury Command is fully operational. Ceres platform reports ready status. The Jupiter and Saturn moon vessels are awaiting your order." Wells took a deep breath. For 70 years, humanity had prepared for this moment while praying it would never come. Now there was no choice. "Send the coded transmission to all Earth forces," she ordered. "The message is, initiate Colossus Protocol." Across the solar system, what alien observers had always believed to be normal astronomical bodies suddenly changed. On Mercury, massive engine ports opened along the southern hemisphere. In the asteroid belt, Ceres shed its outer layer of rock, revealing weapon emplacements beneath. Several moons of Jupiter and Saturn simultaneously broke free of their orbits, their surfaces reconfiguring to expose the warships hidden inside Dot and Mercury Command. Wells felt a slight vibration as the planet sized. Engines ignited. Gravitational anchors disengaged, announced the chief engineer. Mercury is now free of the sun's gravity well. Set course for the Arcturus sector, Wells ordered. Maximum sustainable speed? The surface of Mercury glowed red as the engines reached full power. Then, in a carefully controlled distortion of space-time, the smallest planet in the solar system vanished from its orbit. Near the fallen colony of New Eden, the combined Zephyrian-Krellian fleet moved toward its next target. Their commanders were pleased with the easy victories. Human resistance had been minimal, their ships retreating after token opposition. It confirmed what both empires had believed. Humans were technologically inferior and posed no real threat. Aboard the Zephyrian flagship, Emperor Zaldep communicated with Krellian High Executor Krelvok through a secure channel. The humans flee before us as expected. Zaldep's crystalline form glittered as he spoke. Their colonies fall with barely a fight. Krelvok, a massive being with armored skin and multiple eyes, rumbled in agreement. Once we secure their homeworld, we can return to our true war. This human distraction will soon be over. An alarm suddenly blared on the Zephyrian bridge. Emperor, called an officer. Our sensors detect a massive spatial distortion forming. Before Zaldep could respond, space itself seemed to fold open at the edge of the Arcturus sector. From this rupture emerged Mercury, its surface now visibly different. The once barren planet bristled with weapon emplacements and enormous energy. Signatures radiated from its core. "What is that?" demanded Zalt HEP. His science officer stared at the readings in disbelief. "It appears to be ... Mercury, the innermost planet of the human solar system. But that's impossible." On the Krellian command ship, Krelvok roared in anger and disbelief. How could they move an entire planet? Scan it immediately. Before either empire could fully react, Mercury released a gravitational pulse that spread outward like a wave. As it passed through the alien fleet, every ship's propulsion system suddenly failed. The massive armada drifted helplessly in space. Admiral. Wells' voice broadcast across all frequencies, translated into both Zephyrian and Krellian languages. Attention. This is Admiral Samantha Wells of the United Earth Federation. We sought peace. You chose war. We are prepared to negotiate your surrender. In the damaged olive branch, drifting at the edge of Zephyrian space, Alan Foster and his crew stared in amazement as Mercury appeared in the distance. Even from afar, they could see its transformed surface, glinting in the light of the nearby star. "They actually did it," Maria whispered. "They activated Colossus." Alan watched as the planet ship emitted the gravitational pulse that disabled the alien fleet. The technology behind it was beyond anything he had imagined possible. "It's not firing," Grace noted. "It could destroy that entire fleet, but it's just holding them in place." "A show of force rather than a massacre," Vincent suggested. "Smart." Wells is leaving room for diplomacy. A small ship detached from Mercury and accelerated toward their position. "They're coming for us," Alan said with relief. After days drifting in space with dwindling supplies, rescue was welcomed out as they waited for the rescue vessel. Alan stared out at Mercury. The scale of the weapon was difficult to comprehend. An entire planet, hollowed out and transformed into a warship. How many more did Earth have? And what would happen to the galaxy now that such power had been revealed? "Is this what we want to be?" he asked quietly. "The species that builds planets into weapons?" Maria joined him at the viewport. "We built them because we had to survive. The question now is what we do with them." Across the galaxy, the news spread rapidly. Humanity, which both the Zephyrian and Krellian empires had dismissed as a minor annoyance, had revealed technology far beyond what either civilization possessed. The appearance of Mercury and the other planetary vessels sent shockwaves through both empires. On colonial worlds under Zephyrian control, subject species who had been oppressed for centuries looked up at their night skies and whispered about the humans who moved planets. On Krellian military outposts, soldiers questioned whether their leaders had made a fatal mistake in provoking such a power dot in her command center inside Mercury. Admiral Wells received reports of growing unrest throughout both empires. The mere appearance of humanity's ultimate weapon was causing political structures to crack. "Send a message to all our forces," she ordered. "Hold positions. Do not fire unless fired upon." She turned to her second-in-command. "The weapon that ends this war may not be Mercury itself, but what Mercury represents. Fear is spreading through their empires faster than any weapon could." As the rescue ship approached the stranded olive branch, Alan realized that humanity now stood at a crossroads. They had revealed their greatest secret and most terrible weapon. What they did next would determine not just the outcome of this conflict, but the future of human civilization among the stars. 1 month after Mercury's dramatic appearance in the Arcturus sector, Commander Alan Foster stood on an observation deck inside the planet ship. He watched as small vessels from formerly Zephyrian and Krellian worlds approached, carrying representatives, seeking dialogue with humanity. The revelation of Earth's planetary warships had changed everything. "Still hard to believe, isn't it?" Maria said as she joined him at the viewport. After their rescue from the damaged olive branch, they had been brought to Mercury Command to help navigate the rapidly changing political landscape. That we're inside a planet? Or that 2 galactic empires are falling apart because of it? Alan asked. "Both," Maria admitted. "The reports from the outer systems are coming in faster than we can process them. Rebellions on at least 30 Zephyrian worlds. The Krellian military splitting into 3 competing factions. The appearance of Mercury and humanity's other planetary vessels had done more than just halt the alien advance. It had shattered the foundations of both empires. Species that had been subjugated for centuries saw an opportunity for freedom. Military commanders and political leaders scrambled to either maintain power or secure their own positions in the changing order. A young officer approached them. "Commander Foster, Lieutenant Garcia, Admiral Wells requests your presence in the council chamber. The representatives from Zephyria Prime have arrived." They followed the officer through Mercury's vast interior. Inside, the planet was a marvel of engineering. What had once been rock and metal was now a complex network of chambers, corridors, and systems that could support millions of people. Energy flowed through crystalline conduits that replaced natural magma channels. Artificial gravity generators created a comfortable environment, despite the unconventional shape of the habitat. The council chamber was near Mercury's center, a large room with a circular table. Admiral Wells was already there, along with key military and political leaders from Earth. Across from them sat 3 Zephyrians, their crystalline forms dimmer than Alan remembered, a sign of distress in their species. "Commander Foster, Lieutenant. Garcia, please join us," Wells said. "These representatives have brought news from Zephyria Prime." The tallest Zephyrian spoke, its voice lacking the musical quality Alan recalled from their earlier diplomatic mission. "Emperor Zalvip has been removed from power. The coalition of free crystals now leads our government." "A revolution?" Maria asked. "A necessary change," the Zephyrian replied. "For too long, our empire has been controlled by military leaders who prolonged the war with the Krellians. When your Mercury vessel appeared, it revealed the truth many of us had suspected. Our war was unnecessary and based on the ambitions of a few." Similar reports had come from Krellian territory. High Executor Krelvok had been assassinated by his own guards. The Krellian High Command had fractured, with some factions continuing to fight while others sought peace. Wells studied the Zephyrian delegates. And what does the coalition of free crystals want from Earth? Peace, said the Zephyrian simply, and knowledge. How did humans achieve what our scientists believed impossible? The moving of planets? Wells exchanged glances with her advisors. That information may be shared in time, as trust develops between our peoples. After the meeting, Wells invited Alan and Maria to her private office. Unlike the Grand Council chamber, it was a small, practical space with just a desk and a few chairs. I've received a request from the Council on Earth, Wells told them. They want your assessment of our current strategy. Alan considered his words carefully. The appearance of Mercury and our other planetary vessels has done what no traditional fleet could have accomplished. It ended a war before it truly began. But, Wells prompted, sensing his hesitation. But now we hold power that could easily be misused, Alan continued. Some military leaders are already suggesting we use this moment to establish human dominance across the galaxy. Maria nodded in agreement. We've seen what the Zephyrians and Krellians did with their power. They built empires based on subjugation. An endless war. Wells leaned back in her chair. And you believe we would follow the same path? I believe, Alan said, that power of this magnitude requires careful consideration. Mercury was built as a defensive measure, a last resort. Now that it's been revealed, we need to decide what it will become. Wells was silent for a long moment. The Council is debating that very question. Some see our planetary vessels as the foundation for a new human empire. Others view them as a temporary advantage that should be hidden away again once peace is secured. Is there a third option? Maria asked. 3 days later, Mercury's massive communication array broadcast a message to all worlds across the former Zephyrian and Krellian territories. Admiral Wells stood before the camera, with Alan and Maria beside her. To all peaceful worlds and species, Wells began, Earth extends an offer of friendship and protection. We did not build our planetary vessels to create an empire, but to ensure the survival of our species. Now we offer that same protection to others. The broadcast outlined a new proposal, a galactic covenant. Member worlds would maintain their sovereignty while agreeing to basic principles of cooperation and peace. Earth's planetary vessels would serve not as weapons of conquest, but as shields against aggression and centers for scientific and cultural exchange. From the observation deck, Alan and Maria watched as Mercury's engines powered down. The planet ship established a stable orbit around a neutral star, halfway between former Zephyrian and Krellian space. Do you think it will work? Maria asked. This covenant? Alan looked out at the stars. In the distance, ships from dozens of worlds were approaching, carrying representatives interested in the human proposal. I don't know, but it's a better use for these vessels than war. It's ironic, Maria said. We built planet-sized warships in secret, fearing we would need them to survive. In the end, we never fired a single weapon. Just revealing them was enough. The most powerful weapon wasn't Mercury itself, Alan realized. It was the hope it represented. Hope that there could be a power in the galaxy that didn't seek conquest. 6 months later, the first official meeting of the Galactic Covenant took place inside Mercury. Representatives from 87 worlds, including former enemies and newly liberated species, gathered to sign the founding charter. The document established principles of mutual defense, cultural exchange, and scientific cooperation. Mercury, once a symbol of humanity's fear, had become the center of a new galactic order. Inside what had been built as a warship, former enemies now worked together toward peace. From his new quarters near Mercury's northern pole, Alan looked out at the stars. The empires had indeed collapsed, but something better was emerging from their ruins. And the planet-sized warships that humanity had built in secret were now the foundation for a future none of them had imagined possible.